after more than 100 consecutive days of rioting last year and tens of millions of dollars in property damage. Some in the media are finally admitting problems in Portland, Oregon. The Washington Post with this headline: anarchists and an increase in violent crime hijack Portland's social justice movement. A Washington Examiner op-ed called it out, quote, Washington Post finally recognizes that Portland has a violence problem. And you might remember these headlines from last year. The New York Times ran this op-ed, quote, help me find Trump's anarchists in Portland. And CNN reporter Josh Campbell tweeted at the time, good morning from wonderful Portland, where the city is not under siege and buildings are not burning to the ground. Jason Rantz is a Seattle radio talk show host and often on the ground talking to business owners and people who were actually living through the reality that maybe the reporters didn't want to report.
It would be laughable if it wasn't so serious, what we're seeing here. I mean, the media was mind-numbingly stupid in some of its coverage. When you have people out there virtue signaling, like the CNN reporter, oh, there's no issue here. Where are the anarchists? What are you talking about? They did this, I think, to serve two purposes. Number one, I think locally and nationally you have a lot of reporters who identify with the BLM movement and the ideology that is surrounding what's been going on in these cities, so they want to justify, or they want to downplay because they don't want to hurt the movement. And the movement, of course, was not hurt by a lot of this violence. But number two, they wanted to hurt Donald Trump, who at the time, as everyone will remember, was calling out the lawlessness, calling out the anarchy. And I remember right after the RNC convention, Anderson Cooper was struggling to get the point across. The polling looks really, really good. Don Lemon said the polling looks really, really good for the RNC and Republicans on this. You got to step up. Then they shifted their conversation. Well, this is Trump's America, as if Trump's America is Portland, LA, Seattle, and New York, like he's responsible for the violence. So they decided at the end, let's just ignore it. But ignoring it meant it didn't go away, and it's still out there. It's not what it once was, but it's still there. Yeah, and what you're talking about with those journalists taking a side, everybody's got a point of view. You don't have to bring it to work, wear it on your sleeve, and then report based on it. It's really interesting now to see people actually maybe cozying up to the facts. Texas Governor Greg Abbott signing a bill that will withhold property tax revenue from cities and counties which defund the police. Those funds would be redistributed to the Texas Department of Public Safety. The state also is increasing penalties for protesters blocking emergency vehicles or harming law enforcement. That stands in stark contrast with what's happening right now in Seattle. And Jason, you would know, the police force there is dwindling. Nearly 275 officers have left the force since last year, with now the lowest number of deployable staff since the 1980s. Deployable staff, you call 911. Who answers that call is what they're talking about. That number is the lowest since the 80s. And what is the effect on the people of Seattle, Jason? Well, it means there's no proactive policing, which means we've seen an increase in violent crime, particularly gun violence. But just over the weekend, an incredibly tragic story. A man, 67 years old, was walking his dog, 14 years old. Her name was Alice. It's a Jack Russell. When he got accosted by a homeless person who apparently has had interactions with the police before, tried to rob the guy. The guy said no. He pushed back, and the dog was kicked to death. That guy was almost immediately released from jail. And so not only do you have police not able to protect these communities and have a presence to clamp down on some of the violence, or at least be a disincentive to commit the violence, you now have judges who are just releasing these criminals, suspects, at the exact same time. This is an ongoing problem, and it's not just happening in Seattle, as you know. It's happening all across the country.
You know, and the layering of what you just said is really, really illuminating, right? So police are also doing the job of identifying troubled people in our society, and then the court system doesn't look at the law is blind. So they're not really following the lead of police officers because those police officers aren't able to do that now because they don't exist, because the numbers are so low of cops. Wow, that is really troubling.
Well, and the law is supposed to be blind, but to be clear, in a lot of these cases, you have judges who are actively saying, I'm not going to, quote unquote, criminalize poverty. We've got a King County prosecutor and a Seattle City attorney who's going out of their way to go after the judges that are hard on crime. It is almost a parody, but unfortunately, this parody is deadly.
Wow. I want to get to this, too. The National Fraternal Order of Police now says 128 officers have been shot on the line of duty so far this year. 26 officers died, and 27 of those shootings were ambush-style attacks. That's up by 50% from last year. Jason, your reaction to those numbers?
Well, when you know that there's not a lot of officers out there on duty, it makes it that much easier to hurt them. You have media nationally pushing a BLM radical agenda that demonizes these officers. And we've had this conversation before. There's no doubt there are some bad cops, and we go after them as harshly as we can, but the vast majority are great people. Unfortunately, you have police officers all across the country being painted with this incredibly toxic broad brush. And it is inspiring people to attack. We saw what happened in San Francisco with the officer who was attacked by a homeless person. She didn't have a partner with her because of a lack of staffing. We see this happening over and over and over again. Police see this happening. Not only is the morale down, but they're leaving these big departments in significant numbers. So the problem is only going to get worse, not just for the officers, but of course also for the people that they serve and protect.
Yeah, and for those people who were part of the BLM movement who really wanted change and were not about destroying things, their message gets muffled by others who come in as like insurgents and do some of the things that you're talking about, and it is destructive all around. Well, when it comes to violent crime in Democrat-led cities, we are learning the man accused of attacking an Asian American woman in broad daylight has a long rap sheet. He now faces multiple charges, including assault as a hate crime, but was arrested and released at least 17 times that we know about prior to that attack. New York City's police commissioner blames the lenient treatment of repeat offenders, something Jason was just talking about. Quote, we need help with some of these laws. We cannot be just chasing our tail, catch and release, catch and release. Jason.
100%. You have officers who are doing a really tough job only to have all of that work be for nothing because judges and prosecutors are going easy on these people. And again, this is not an anomaly. We have a case here, Francisco Calderon, 75 convictions at the time after he was arrested for throwing coffee in the face of a toddler, and of course was released again. You have some leaning on the COVID restrictions for not putting people in jail. This is being driven actually by politics.
Wow, that is a lot. And then the question is, who's keeping an eye on things so it doesn't get worse? Or are they just turning a blind eye? We will follow the story wherever it takes us. Jason Rantz, great to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Harris.
Fox